This video is the first in a new series I'm starting where I'm documenting the real-life process of building a full-stack project I'm working on from beginning to end. In this first video, I'm going to be setting up a Postgres database with supabase and the Drizzle ORM. I've been wanting to have a place where I can create instructional videos that are better structured than what I can do here on YouTube. For now, I'm imagining something pretty simple like this, where I would have a video and then the sections and subsections of a given course, where each video would have the commands and code related to it right under it. This is a pretty standard format. My hope is that after building something like this out, I can put together some free mini courses on different software development topics, and further along the line put together some more premium and longer courses that are much more in depth than what I usually post here on YouTube. So I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to document myself building this out from start to end, so you guys can see the real life process of building something like this and hopefully learn some cool stuff along the way with me. I'm going to be building this on top of the Kit blog, which you might have seen or used in the past. It's where I currently post my blog posts that serve as supplementary material for the videos that I make on YouTube. Let's get started. So I want to start modeling out the schema for my database. Alright, so this is a very basic ERD diagram. We're going to have a course table that'll have the name of the course, and that'll have a one-to-many relationship with another table called section that'll have the title of the section, and then again we'll have another one-to-many relationship with subsections that'll have a title, a URL for the video, how long the video is in milliseconds, which will be stored as an integer, and a path to a markdown file so that I can have some supplementary information along with the video. I also added a preliminary table for user, and that'll have the user's name and their email. This is just to get started and will probably evolve as I continue building this out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and set up a new supabase project. Once I'm done doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and set up supabase in my local environment. I'm installing the supabase CLI with Homebrew. Then after making sure that I have Docker Desktop installed on my computer and it's up and running, in the root of my project, I'm going to run supabase init to initialize supabase. I want to start up the supabase stack by doing supabase start. This will set up a Postgres database as well as a bunch of other supabase services locally in my computer. As of right now, I'm just going to be using this to be able to connect locally to the database. I'm going to create a split window here and another down at the bottom. I'm going to have to install these packages to be able to work with the Drizzle ORM and Drizzle Kit as well. And now I need to create my models. I'm gonna go ahead and do this, create a new folder called DB. All right, I'm gonna open up my blog with NeoVim. Just gonna add a new folder here at the top. It's gonna be called DB. And inside I'm gonna add a schema.ts file. I basically want to take this schema and set it up with Drizzle. All right, I took this example from the Drizzle docs. I'm gonna go to this diagnostic and open up the code actions. I want to import from PG core, and I'm gonna keep doing that for the rest of the missing imports. All right, this is gonna be called course. And I want to change name to be the text type instead of varchar. I do want this to be not null. I'm going to remove the index for now. Oh, this text has the wrong import. I'm going to remove it and import again from PG core, not MySQL. I'm going to just copy this and define another table here called section. Alright, so now I've finished setting up the schema. First I have here the course table that just has a primary key of ID and the name column. I actually do want to allow this to be null. And then down here I set up the section table that has the ID, a title, and a foreign key called course ID that references the course table. And I want to make sure that if a course is deleted, then all sections of the course are deleted as well. Then down here, I have the third table for the subsections that again have an ID, a title, a video URL, how long the video is, a path to a markdown file for the code snippets and instructions, and a foreign key called section ID that references the section table. Again, I want to make sure that if the section is deleted, then all of its subsections are deleted as well. Then after defining the three tables, I can set up the relations between them. First, I set up the course relations. The course has many sections. Then down here, I set up the relationships for a section. The section belongs to one course and has many subsections. And then at the bottom, I set up the relationships for a subsection where a subsection belongs to a single section. All right, now I want to be able to connect to the database and also create and run a migration to apply the schema to the database. The first thing I need to do is add a config file for Drizzle called drizzle.config.ts. Alright, so I've added a drizzle.config.ts file. I'm getting the database URL from an environment variable that I defined here in a .env file. This file is also in the root of the project, and it's equal to the URL of the supabase database that is running locally in my computer. Then over here, I export the config where I specify the file path to the schema. This is actually in the db folder, and I want the migrations to go to db/drizzle. We're using the postgres driver, and over here I set the connection string to the environment variable. I'm gonna save all this. Now I can do npm drizzle kit generate, and it should be Postgres, I'm not sure. Let's try it. Actually, I think I need to set this up as a script because Drizzle Kit is a dependency that we installed just for this project. I'm gonna go over here to package.json and add a new script here called migrate. It's gonna be Drizzle Kit generate Postgres. Now I can do npm run migrate. Okay, generate Postgres doesn't work. This should be PG. All right, let's try it again. All right, I think I also need to install .env. Let's do npm install .env. And let's try that again. Awesome. So you'll see now that over in DB under Drizzle, we have the migrations. I forgot to give it a name. I'm gonna rename this to initialize. Now I wanna be able to run these migrations, but to do this, we need to add some more setup files. I need to define the database client. Under DB, I'm gonna add a new file here called client.ts. Alright, so I've set up the database client by getting the connection string from the DB URL environment variable. I check if it's defined. If not, then we throw an error. Then we use the Postgres package here to establish a connection to the database. We set prepare to false as we want to use the connection pooler because we're using SvelteKit. And in production, I'm going to host it on Vercel, so it's going to be running in a serverless environment. And then we're going to export this variable called db, which we're going to be using to access the data on our database. It makes use of the Postgres client and our schema. Now I also need to add a file here to help me run migrations. Alright, so I've added this file to actually run our migrations. I needed to modify the client file so that we export the connection, and then we can import both here, the connection and the Drizzle client, and then we can run the migration like so and close the connection. I'm gonna go ahead and change the script name for generating the migrations. Instead of saying migrate, I'm gonna call it generate migrations. I also want to install TSX. I'm going to do npm install tsx. This is so that we're able to run the migrations. I'm going to go to the package.json. I'm going to add here another one called migrate. It's going to be tsx db/migrate. And then down here we can now do npm run migrate. So I kept getting this error where it said that it couldn't find the meta_journal.json file. It looks like it was because the migrations folder isn't correct. I'm gonna change this and it should be relative to the root of the project. So this is gonna be ./db/drizzle. And then I was getting this error where it said no file Misty Sentinel found in the Drizzle folder. Looks like I made a mistake renaming the migration. What we can do is open up the file explorer and then we have to go to journal.json. I have to change this tag here to the correct migration name. It's gonna be initialize. Now let's try that again. There we go, now it worked. Now I want to open up the Drizzle Studio so I can take a look at the database. Go up here. Now let's do Alright, so I've added another script called Studio so that we can open up the Drizzle Kit Studio and take a look at the database. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do npm run studio. Looks like I also need to install PG. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do npm install -d pg. Now let's try it again. Okay, I'm going to copy this URL here and I'm going to try to open this up in the browser. Awesome, so we have the course, section, and subsection tables. They don't have any data yet, but the schema is set up. And as you can see here, there's a relationship here between course and sections, section and course and subsections, and the subsection has a relationship with section. All right, the last thing I want to do is to actually seed the database with some initial data. I'm going to go ahead and open another tmux pane here, and I want to install faker.js with npm to make it easier to generate some placeholder data for the database for development. What I'm going to do now is add a new file under the db folder called seed.ts. I finished setting up some code to seed up my database with some initial data. I went ahead and in my schema, I added these two types for each of the different tables so that I have access to the fields that I would need to do a select as well as an insert. I have one for course, another one for section, and another one for the subsection. And over in my seed.ts file, you'll see here that I define a courses variable whose type is an array of insert course. And over here, I'm looping 5 times to add data to this array, with the ID being the index of the loop and the name being a random string that is generated by the faker package. I'm actually going to change this ID to start at 1. Then I'm doing the same thing with sections, but now I'm looping 5 times for each course. So each course will have 5 sections, and the ID is the ID of the course plus the current value of I in that iteration of the loop. Now I realized the way I'm setting this ID won't actually work. I'm gonna set a variable here called section ID. It's gonna start at 1, and then for each iteration of this loop here, it'll get incremented by 1. And then we're gonna set the ID to that. We're doing the same thing for the subsections. For each section, there's gonna be 5 subsections with a random title that points to the current section ID. I'm gonna rename these variables. I'm gonna call this courses insert data. And down here, it's gonna be sections insert data and subsections insert data. Then down at the bottom, I'm using Drizzle to insert courses. The values will be the courses insert data. And on conflict, I don't want to do anything. So we're doing the same for sections and the same for subsections. I think for the conflict logic to work properly, I need to set an ID for the subsections. I'm going to add another variable here. Subsection ID is equal to 1. And this is going to be ID subsection ID and subsection ID plus equals 1. All right, now I'm going to go to the package.json file. I'm going to add a seed script here that says tsxdb/seed to be able to run that logic. I'm going to go down into another tmux pane and I'm going to run npm run seed. All right, let's see what happens. Let's go to Drizzle Studio here. I'm gonna refresh this. There we go. Now we have 5 courses. Each course has 5 sections. And if we go to sections, each section will have 5 subsections. I actually wanted the titles to be more than one character. So the function we're using with faker should be another one. All right, so I changed the way we're generating random strings to using faker.word.sample. So we're doing that for the name of the course, the title, and the subsection title. And then what I decided to do was to delete all of the rows for the course table and then insert the new values. Same for the section table and same for the subsection table. I'm gonna save this, and then I'm going to run the seed command again. All right, I've gone back to the database and refreshed it, and now you can see that we actually have some words here for each of the courses, and same goes for the sections within that course. Same here. If I go to section and click on subsections, you'll see they also have their own random names. All right, now I want to stage and commit my changes. I'm actually gonna create a new branch here. I press 3 to go to the branches, and I'm gonna press N. I'm gonna call this video courses. And I'm gonna go to 2, and I'm gonna press A to stage all of my changes. I'm gonna press C to create a commit for them. And I'm just gonna call this setup Drizzle client and initial migration and seed. And I'm just going to push. Alright you guys, that's it for the first episode in the series. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it interesting and helpful. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to stay up to date with me and all of the future videos I post on the channel. And leave a comment down below if you have any questions or feedback for me. See you guys in the next one. Peace.